Well, hello there everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we're going to be talking about the new Ram EV, and I'm going to give you guys my honest thoughts on this truck after I give the specs to you with the truck. And this is coming from someone who sold Rams for a living for 3 years, who's owned 3 Rams. I've owned 5 pickup trucks total, and I literally review pickup trucks for a living on the main channel basically. Like, obviously I review other cars, but a lot of them happen to be trucks, and so yeah. With that being said, before we get into the video, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And then if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Let's get into it. So first off, it does need to be stated that this new Ram EV is just a concept vehicle at this point. So there are most likely going to be many changes made to this truck before we get to the, official production vehicle in 2024, which is the planned release date. However, the concept has some pretty cool features. First off, body on frame, which is a huge win. I'm glad they didn't do the unibody thing like what General Motors did with their Silverado EV. 2 electric motors, which is also great, similar to the F-150 Lightning. Now, they didn't give us power outputs or battery size, but it's pretty safe to assume that the battery's gonna have to be pretty big with the range figure they've given, which is about 400 miles, which is 100 miles less than what they initially said, because they said they're shooting for 500 miles, and maybe the full production truck will have even, 100 miles less than that, because it seems like that's what these automakers do, is they promise us here, and then they give us here when it comes to range with these electric vehicles. But anyways, don't have a battery capacity with this, but we do have some charging stuff. So you'll be able to add 100 miles of range in just 10 minutes if you have access to an 800 volt DC fast charger at up to 350 kilowatts, which is pretty cool. But obviously getting access to that type of charger sometimes can be hit and miss depending on where you live, so you might not even be able to take advantage of that. Now, it'll also have rear steer, which will turn up to 15 degrees. So again, similar to like the new Hummer EV, which I think is great. I think that every single modern pickup truck, frankly, should have rear steer at this point, because that would just make everything associated with pickup truck driving so much easier. But, we're starting to get it at least on these EV pickup trucks. Now, it's also going to have level 3 autonomous driving, which basically means that the truck will fully drive itself. So, like, it will do this weird thing where, like, the steering wheel will retract and everything, which I'm not so sure how I feel about that. But the truck will basically do all the driving for you, which also I'm not sure if, truck people are really going to like that all that much, but it's going to have it. Now, speaking of autonomous driving, it's also going to have a bunch of other safety tech that, modern Rams are known for. So like blind spot monitoring, camera, rear view mirror, all that kind of stuff. And then also with the seats in the truck, you're going to be able to fully remove them if you want. They can also fold down. So there's lots of, ability to move things around from that perspective. The doors open up like a Rolls Royce. So like the front door opens up normally, and then the back door opens up in the opposite direction. And then there's no pillar in the center. So it's supposed to make getting in and out of the truck easier. We'll see if that actually makes it into production. Definitely a funky thing for a truck. It also has a mid-gate where you basically have an entry point into the truck from the bed. They're also going to give you the option of a jump seat right there that you can put in the mid-gate, which is also very strange, but that's another thing that they're doing with the truck. But overall, that's going to add some practicality. Again, that's something that the Silverado EV has. It'll also have a 360 camera system. Apparently, it's going to have an AI-powered voice assistant system, basically, that's going to be able to help you out. So similar to, like, I don't know, Amazon Alexa or whatever, all that kind of stuff. I don't even have anything like that in my house, so I'm not super familiar with it on a personal basis, but you know what? Techie people seem to like that stuff. Now, the next feature that is super weird is it's going to have a shadow mode, where basically you set it into this mode and then the truck will follow you around as you are walking around a job site, so that you can more easily access the truck. It sounds really cool on paper, but like really weird, and hopefully it doesn't break, because then you're gonna have people get like, I'm just kidding. I mean, kind of not at the same time. But on top of that, it's also going to have a frunk just like the F-150 Lightning. You're gonna have some outlets inside of the frunk as well, as what it looks like. And so basically what Ram has done is they've taken a lot of features from the new Silverado EV and then from the F-150 Lightning and combined them together and put them into this one truck, which is exactly what Ram basically said they're going to do. That's why they said they were waiting to release this truck, because they wanted to see what people liked and what people didn't like, and so that's what they're going with. The next thing is with the whole screen situation. So with the concept, it doesn't look like there's an actual, like, you know, gauge cluster. There's basically two screens in the center. One of them is a removable tablet that you can take out and basically use, but no actual, like, gauge cluster, which is kind of strange, but there is going to be a heads-up display, so I guess they're expecting you to use the heads-up display for everything. And the next thing to note with this is that the, you know, truck itself is going to be similar in size to like a Ram 1500. It's actually going to be like slightly longer, but about the same size. So this is, again, another like half-ton EV truck. And so that now leads me into the overall interior and exterior design. Now, when it comes to the interior, it actually looks pretty cool and futuristic. I think it's kind of hard to design an interior that's kind of ugly at this point, because like you just have to make sure the seats look relatively cool, which these do. They have like kind of like a nice aggressive bolstered look to them with the concept vehicle. And it's got these cool flowing lines, and some of the lines actually match like the exterior lights, which looks cool. So interior wise, I think they did a good job. Exterior wise, well, let's just say it's got a face that only a mother could love. I mean, seriously, like, it does kind of look like the renders that Ram released, but it just looks so strange because you have like certain parts of it that are like super smooth and flowy, and then parts of it that are just like sharp and boxy. And it seems like automakers are doing this more and more with vehicles, where like the front end will be kind of like smoother, softer, and the back end will just be like straight boxy. And obviously pickup trucks have always kind of been that way, but with the design on this, it's kind of extreme. And, you know, I've been reading the comments online before I made this video to see what other people are thinking about the design, and it seems like universally nobody really likes it right now. Now, maybe it's one of these things where once people see it in person and once it's out and about for a few years, then the design will grow. As of right now, I'm gonna hold like final judgment. I do think there's some cool things. Like, I think the daytime running lights on the front end are pretty cool. I think the marker lights, like Raptors have, also pretty cool. Illuminated badges, that's also pretty cool. And actually the wheels, they look pretty neat as well, but it just looks kind of funky. And I think that at this point, Ford definitely has done it best, where they just took their F-150, electrified it, and so the Lightning just looks like a regular F-150. Like, I don't understand why automakers think they need to go like crazy with the design. Like, again, this is a pickup truck for pickup truck people, and pickup truck people don't need the crazy out there, you know, flaunty design that, you know, most other EVs have. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the looks. So I know that I kind of sprinkled in my thoughts throughout the, you know, feature section, but let's kind of go over my final thoughts on this truck. Now, with everything that Ram is saying that they're going to do with all the tech features, we'll see, you know, what actually makes it into production. Like, another thing is it doesn't have actual mirrors, it just has cameras, and well, that doesn't work with US regulation currently. And so, like, it'll probably just have regular side view mirrors when it gets officially released, unless US regulation somehow changes between now and then. And so I'm kind of like cool with some of the tech features, but at the same time, I'm like, how many of these will actually make it into final production? But I mean, so far, like, it sounds really cool with that. Like I said, interior, I think it's pretty cool with all the features. Again, we'll see what actually makes it into production. I want Ram to put a gauge cluster on this truck. Like, if it doesn't have a gauge cluster, if I'm just blind and can't see it, then let me know. But if this doesn't have a gauge cluster, put a gauge cluster. I don't care how big and beautiful the heads-up display is. Truck people want something that feels somewhat familiar, and not having a gauge cluster similar to a Tesla, that is a big mistake. And then when it comes to styling, I just don't know. Again, I haven't seen it in person yet, so I'm going to reserve my final opinion, but it's just kind of funky. I think the biggest thing, though, is we all know, based on what's happened with, you know, the Hummer EV, the Rivian R1T, and the F-150 Lightning with towing tests, that this ultimately is not going to be a truck for truck people. And I know that I might get, you know, in trouble by Ram for saying that, but like, it's not anything that Ram is doing wrong. It's just electric trucks don't have the technology to make it so that they're going to be practical enough for actual truck stuff, because Ram is stating now 400 miles of range down from 500 miles of range, which, if this is using the exact same technology as the F-150 Lightning and as the Hummer EV and as the Rivian R1T, which it sounds like it is, that means that when you're towing with this truck, you're going to get more like 100 and something miles of range, maybe, which means that it's going to be a maybe cross-county tower, not a cross-country tower, right? So I think for people that, you know, are going to tow and haul short distances, it'll be great. And if, as a truck that'll be used as a daily driver, just like the F-150 Lightning, it'll be an amazing daily driver, because the suspension and everything with this truck is going to be so much more comfortable than a regular Ram 1500. The acceleration is going to be way better for day-to-day traffic, and then the ability ability to charge at home. Like, I've lived with several EVs at this point, and as annoyed as I get with some of the charging quirks, it's nice to not have to ever go to a gas station. So like, I think for those that are looking for like a daily driver truck to occasionally use for truck stuff, it'll be great. But for those of you looking for like an actual workhorse, which is what, you know, it seems like Ford and General Motors and now Ram is trying to sell us on with these electric pickup trucks, it's just not quite there. And the last thing that I want to finish off with is to really like hit home with this. With a gas-powered truck currently, if you're not towing, obviously you're gonna get better fuel economy than if you are towing. But the amount of range that you can get and the infrastructure you have to help you out with towing is so much better. So with a gas-powered truck, let's say that you can get, you know, I don't know, 15 to 18 miles per gallon. And then let's say that you're towing a load. Now it's gonna vary depending on how heavy the load is and the type of truck and all that kind of stuff. But let's just say in our example, you drop down to 10 miles per gallon. I feel like that's pretty fair. Most pickup trucks can, you know, on the highway average somewhere around 10 miles per gallon. Well, if you look at Ram's gas-powered pickup trucks, you can get either a 26-gallon fuel tank or a 33-gallon fuel tank, which means that even at 10 miles per gallon, you're gonna be able to get 260 to 330 miles of driving range. And then you have gas stations, which are everywhere, and which allow you to fill up the truck to full within, what, like 10 to 15 minutes max, if you're filling up, you know, all 33 gallons. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that gas-powered trucks are still going to be used for the majority of truck stuff, because until EV trucks can give us at least what gas-powered trucks give in terms of range while towing, it's just not really going to make sense. So like, we need at least, you know, mid 200s to over 300 miles of driving range while towing, not total, while towing. Let me know what you guys think about this new Ram EV. I think it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see the final production version and see what features actually make it into production. But I will say, job well done to Ram for releasing a truck that just is pretty crazy. Like, when you read into all of the little features and everything, it's insane, all the stuff that they've added to it. That'll be it. I just realized that people are probably gonna be wondering what this truck is going to cost. Well, mid-gate, crazy tech features like level 3 autonomous driving, air suspension, which I know I didn't mention in the video, but I mean, Rams already have air suspension, so whatever. Rear steer, tablet screen that you can pull out, crazy seats. It's gonna be over $100,000. Like, there's no way it's gonna be any less than $100,000 for a fully loaded one. And then when it comes to a base model, well, if you look at the base model F-150 Lightning pricing, we're talking about $60,000 plus. Ram hasn't released official pricing yet. But if you're gonna want one of these, expect to pay some pretty big money. Obviously, we got that new federal tax credit. We'll see if the truck qualifies for it, depending on where it's built and all that kind of stuff, which I'm sure that Ram will push for it to be built in the US, given the tax credit system. But don't worry, you'll be able to save $7,500 off of your $100,000 pickup truck from Ram.